Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups, limited beliefs, relationship issues, their lives. And today I got a live stream going, Rollo TOMASSI's 9 Rules to Women in Relationships. I've talked about this man, this legend, this author before, and I think it's required reading for a lot of men out of a breakup in Western culture. Notice I said Western culture. If you live in America, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, these kind of places, because some of this stuff doesn't apply everywhere in the world. I'll talk about that for another show. Jasper J, what's good? Yeah, Rollo TOMASSI's 9 Rules in Relationships. I'm going back over this. I know I've probably talked about this in 1 or 2 of my videos before, and that one's for you, bud. But I'm going back through it. I had a client recently that he's rusty. It's been a while since he got back into dating, and 4 years he hasn't dated. So he's a little bit like, what should I do? How should I go about this? I would say read The Rational Male, Models by Mark Manson, No More Mr. Nice Guy, and I'd throw in Tactical Guide to Women by Sean Smith. Those 4 books on Audible, or reading them, or the notes. And what I'm going to go through right now is just the notes from Rollo TOMASSI's 9 Rules to Women in Relationships, which you could take it or leave it. And whenever you read a book on stuff like this, take what you like and take and discard the other stuff. Don't take it like, oh, I need to change, or I need to be this other person. You know, a lot of times there's guys out there, there's people out there that are nice guys, or they're this or they're that. You know, you want to keep a part of who you are, right? The parts that you don't like. But then reading some books like this, Arnold, what's up? Philly's finest. How are you, bud? Am I correct? Is this Philadelphia's finest, Mr. Reyes? It's been a while. Don't think I forgot about you. You told me we'd talk again. Are you doing better, my friend? I remember all of you if I've coached you before. I believe it. Yeah. Arnold's a cool dude, man. For sure. Dating Essentials for Men was, who wrote that? Dating Essentials for Men, if I may ask. Thanks for throwing that in, Arnold. But anytime you're in a breakup, right? Or you're at ground zero, and here's the thing. Sometimes I really do preach that you can go on a relationship fast and hurt a little while and be okay. Because there's a lot of, especially as guys, we got our buddies out there, and their buddy just wants you to get back in the game, right? Have you ever watched the movie Top Gun? I think Arnold might be someone that's seen Top Gun. But, you know, Maverick goes back to fly the fighter jet after his partner Goose dies, and he gets back in, and his new partner, when he's flying, is like, we could have had him, man. We could have had him. We could have had him, man. And he's like, oh, I'll fly when I'm damn good and ready. He wasn't ready. He needed to cry. There needed to be more drama. There needed to be more soft music in the movie. Sometimes that's your fucking breakup, man. Right? There's a lot of breakup. The amount of, fuck, man, I could do a whole video on movies where someone breaks up and they meet a really good catch, and there's no time in between. I just recently, as research for my channel, watched Eat, Pray, Love with Julia Roberts. I didn't know it was this old now, but someone had mentioned it to me. Yep, Arnold knows what I'm talking about. Great movie. And that's kind of what happens in breakups, though, right? It's like he really wasn't ready, right? Let alone flying a $1 million jet in the sky. But anyhow, getting back to when you break up, sometimes you're just not ready. That's okay. I talk to people sometimes. I'm like, if you go to a buddy that's like, hey man, just find someone else, and just the easiest way to get through it is to get someone else, this or that, and you're not ready, that's okay. It's the same thing when you go to the doctor and you sprained your ankle, you broke your elbow, and they're like, you're not gonna be able to use that for a little while. When you break up, you might not be able to use your heart and the magic stick for a little while. And that's okay, because you just got to go through it. You got to gush it out, right? You're not ready to go date. That's okay. Now, you don't want to fall into like 5 years, 6 years, if possible. But if you have, no time is better than now, right? So this individual that I talked to a couple days ago that I coached years back, he had come back to me. He's like, yeah, it's been a while. I want to re-engage. I want to get back into the game. He just wanted to ask some girl out. And I'm like, just ask her out. Well, he passively told her on Instagram, hey, maybe if you want to talk sometime, give me a call. And he's like, she hasn't called me yet. I go, you need to just ask her out directly. Yeah, but how do I do it? I'm like, just ask her out. Don't worry about what happens. You're just getting back in the game. This isn't a results-oriented game. This is like, you just ask her out and be direct. And even if the woman says, here's what's interesting. Even if the woman says no, right? And I've experienced this in my life, right? Even if the woman says no or she's not interested and you asked her out and then you just leave it alone, like you're just like, okay. You don't have any bitterness or neediness after it. Like, oh, if you want to go out some other time, you know my number, right? You just go, okay. You just take it clean. No problem. No worries. And you keep moving. That woman might circle back to you a week, a month, 2 months, 3 months later because she knows that you have some gusto. She knows that you can handle someone saying no to you. She knows that you're a direct individual. She might come back just from you handling it that way. There's no guarantee of that. But there's more, isn't there so much more clarity in a no than a, hey, maybe give me a call sometime, right? Maybe give me a call sometime. So I was saying, that's why I'm going to go through these 9 rules, which I've probably talked about before, and kind of unpack them really quick. Because when you get back into like, I want to start dating again, these are things to touch up on because you kind of forget stuff. Now, I remember like, I don't know, 10 or 11 years when I always circle back to that bad breakup, I remember getting like this manifesto online. This is 10 or 11 years ago. There wasn't as much content, folks, right? It seems like it wasn't that long ago, but it was a long time ago in the world of internet, right? Facebook just had started. So I remember I downloaded this like manifesto on getting your ex back. And a lot of the stuff was, some of the stuff was, you know, how attraction works and all this stuff. And I thought to myself, damn, I'm 27 years old and I've never read, or 28 years old. And I've never really read a relationship or attraction book. Shit, this is interesting. I combed through that thing in a night, and I didn't like reading at the time. So let me get into this day. Leandra, always a pleasure. Chuckster, don't fuck with the Chuck. So, and by the way, on my new website that's coming out soon, I'm gonna have notes from books because I know a lot of people like to not read. Like to not read. Does that make sense? Don't like to read. Excuse me. Yes, I have been an English teacher before. Who cares about grammar if you can get this message through, though? Okay, so these are the 9 rules from the Rational Male. Rule number 9, never seriously self-deprecate with a woman you intend to be with. Now, this is something someone will go, oh, yeah, that seems like everyone should know that. They don't. If you were being a jerk on a date, don't message her later saying, hey, sorry, I've been a jerk lately. I hope we can hang out again because I like your company. This is self-deprecating, clingy, and desperate for sympathy. If you act like a jerk, then be a fun jerk to be around and less apologetic. There are situations where it's better to sincerely apologize for something you did wrong, but do it with confidence, with no expectations or sympathy or pity. I always tell people this, okay? Man or woman, right? If you apologize about something, let's just say you were 20 minutes late to pick her up, or vice versa, the woman's 20 minutes. You just go, hey, I'm sorry for being late. You don't go into this big fucking story about you're late all the time and, you know, you've had these problems at work and this and that. You just go, hey, I'm really sorry for being late. Sorry doesn't get more power by saying sorry many times. It actually loses some of its juices when you say sorry again and again and again. It actually makes you look really pathetic, and it makes people feel like, wow, you're a sorry individual, right? If you just say sorry one time, hey, I apologize for being late. And if someone wants to beat you over the head over it afterwards, you just go, hey, man, that's it. Now, if it's a serious thing, then an apology explaining why you're sorry and taking responsibility is another echelon of it. But self-deprecating behavior, there's a lot of guys that somehow think this is, I call it, basically, anytime you're seeking pity, whether you realize it or not, it's not attractive. And now you could get someone's attention. You could get, and if you have someone that's really thoughtful, sweet, and kind, they could even take you back and feel sorry for you. And like someone that works at an animal shelter, or someone that's a really charitable person, really kind-hearted, this might get them. But long-term, it's not attractive at all. Rule number 8, always let a woman figure out why she won't bang you, never do it for her. The idea of leagues is an illusion. If you see a girl and you think yourself, she's out of my league, then you just helped her figure out why she won't bang you. It always makes me cringe when a guy will go, she was kind of out of my league. I was kind of batting over my limit here. I mean, I think I just got lucky. I just cringe. I don't believe in luck, number one. I think luck is a way of people being humble, right? People that have done really well, it's a way of being humble. You can have a lucky break, but what happens next, what happens next, what happens next, okay? So, for example, I remember when I lived in San Diego in my early 20s, which was a glorious time in my life. And I think I was like from 19 or 20 to 24, something like that. And I remember we lived in this little beach area. It was so cool, man, because everyone on my block was in their early 20s to early 30s, and everyone was friends. So anyways, this guy had one of his cousins was visiting from Chicago, Bears. And yeah, I met the guy, and he looked like he worked at Abercrombie, right? He was one of those guys, if you catch my drift. And he was kind of shy and everything like that, because he didn't know the whole neighborhood and everything like that. Anyways, within a week, this guy probably, and I'm not one to overrate or, like say, oh, a woman's gorgeous or beautiful. Everyone's different. I have friends out there that think maybe 80% of women are beautiful. Oh my God, she's a knockout. It's like, you say that about every woman. I'm probably the opposite, right? This woman was gorgeous. I don't use that word often. Gorgeous, beautiful. Beautiful times 10. Italian, early 20s, just beautiful. I was like, wow. Starstruck beautiful, if you know what I mean. Like, you're like, take a double take. And living in San Diego, there's a lot of beautiful women. He met her on the bus. He met her on the bus. She was like just traveling around San Diego for 3 or 4 months. And I remember thinking, like, everyone's like, damn, how do you get so lucky? This, that, and the other. And I remember thinking, damn, this guy he didn't get lucky. This guy was well-groomed. He had style to him. And you know what? In that moment, whatever happened on that bus, he played it right. He played it right. And he was, looking back, he was a good-looking kid, man. He was a good-looking guy, right? So it wasn't luck. If you get into that mode where you're lucky or they're out of your league, just pack it in, right? If you're part of a pickup community, you know that 9s and 10s are typically glass cannons. Guys value appearance, and her appearance is her identity. When that identity is challenged, she loses it. That's why pickup guys act like they don't care when they're around beautiful women. The women are used to having beta guys drooling over them. So when a guy ignores them or makes sarcastic remarks about their appearance, they are on the hook. So I've actually experienced this before, that women that get a lot of attention or are really good looking, they tend to be used to very cheap lines, right? And I remember one case where I was at like a bar or restaurant. I want to say bar or restaurant because it's not like it was just a bar. And there was a girl that worked there, and she was the one that's probably going to get the most attention, right? And she was actually seated on a bar stool, and I came over and I started talking to her, and I put my hand on the back. I shouldn't say a bar stool because it had a back. So I put my hand there. She's like, "Can you take your hand off my chair?" And I said, "Yeah, no problem." Ignored her. Completely ignored her for the rest of the night. Talked to some other women. Talked to the other woman that was the bartender. Bought, I think, the bartender a drink that was a friend of mine. It ate her up for weeks. Whenever I'd go back into that place, I'd completely ignore her. I wouldn't say nice things. I wouldn't say mean things. I wouldn't be a jerk to her. I just completely ignored her. Ghosted her in person. She eventually came up to me, asked me out, and we proceeded to hook up for a few months. And she asked me, she's like, "Why did you do that?" She couldn't get over it. She had never witnessed a guy just shut her out like that. Because when she did that, like, take your hand out, I said, "No problem." And then I just continued to socialize and do my thing. And like I said, completely ignore her every time I saw her. And I had no interest after that. I thought she was stuck up. It blew her, and she mentioned it to me later on. Like, "How did you do that? Why did you do that?" So it is true that if you can hold your frame, if you can be okay with that, and the key to that is that you're not trying, right? That you somehow think that that's going to work. In that moment, I'm like, "No problem. I wasn't that interested in you anyways." In my head, you just made the decision for me with your crappy attitude, but I didn't say it, right? And I think that's what he means by this, right? So, getting back to rule 7. Oh, this is a good line. "Always take your swings at the plate. Don't let the umpire call you out with a fastball right down the middle. Home runs come from big swings." So just go for it. Rule number 7, it's always time and effort better spent developing better relationships with new, fresh, prospective women than it'll ever will be attempting to reconstruct a failed relationship, also known as a breakup. Dun dun. This should apply to the channel, right? If you had to beg her back, then it's obvious reason why you're a chump. She might be your soulmate, but soulmates are a lie. I don't believe in soulmates. I've talked about that in other videos. I don't have a problem if that's something you believe in. Just make sure that you believe in soulmates with an S. Do you understand what I'm saying? The idea that this was my soulmate is extremely limited in a world of billions of human beings. It's extremely limited. If you want to go with she was a soulmate of mine, make sure you throw an S on there. If you want to put that umbrella over the top or that title or that label, just realize that there's most likely more than one of those out there for you, right? This was my dream job. Okay. Is it possible there's another job out there that could be similar, that's different, that could be a dream job? Hell yeah. Time is better spent on new prospective women. There really is plenty of fish in the sea. Don't be swayed by narrative of Disney movies. The idea that there's one woman meant for you and you'll only get one shot in this lifetime sounds pretty ridiculous when there's billions of women on Earth. If you believe in soulmates, fine. Just know that doesn't mean there is one of them for you. So you just said what I said. Rule number 6, women are fundamentally incapable of loving a man in the way that a man expects to be loved. This is the one rule that I question. This is the one rule that if Rollo TOMASSI came on the show, I'd ask him about. Unconditional love does not exist. I don't know if that's true. I think that in certain cases, for certain people, unconditional love does exist. But maybe that's for another show. You believe that love matters for the sake of it, whereas women love opportunistically. I would say this is claiming that women have the same regard for love and men have the same regard for love universally, and I just don't think that's true. I think that there's more intricacies to individuals than to say that all women love in the same pattern or the same way. So this is the one point that I would say I'm not sure it lines up with what I think. You want to be loved for who you are, so try to build a relationship into one where she loves you according to your concept, but it never happens. I'm not sure why it never happens. A guy's so fixed on such a concept and can't tell she no longer loves him, so he breaks when she breaks up with him. You convince her to keep the relationship going, but you cannot force her to love you. That part I agree with. But the way this is, women are fundamentally incapable of loving a man in the way the man expects to be loved. I just don't think that that's a statement that applies to everyone. I'll stand by one of my repeated statements that everyone's definition of love is different, and it's different in regards to how they convey love. So I just don't think that that's true. I think that I'll leave that alone for now. Rule number 5, never allow a woman to be in control of the birth. If you do everything in your power to avoid pregnancy, but if the woman impregnates herself with your semen, somehow you are still liable for the pregnancy. Say goodbye to your money, your house, your future. This applies to a certain batch of people in America specifically. I don't think this applies to the whole world. Always use a condom. Do not rely on her taking the pill. Sounds like pretty damn good advice. The short answer, take responsibility for your role in making a baby. Absolutely agree. There's nothing worse when someone goes, man, I got kids. I got kids to take care of. Yeah, who did that, genius? I've met people before. I got kids, man. Okay. Who did that? Oh, yeah. I got all these problems with my baby's mom. Who did that? Take responsibility. There's a really interesting side story in the book where the NBA in 2002 issued a controversial warning to pro basketball players where it was reported that women were taking the used condoms and out of the garbage and getting impregnated. Pretty interesting. Rule number 4, never, under any circumstances, live with a woman you aren't married to or not planning to marry within 6 months. Now, this is a rule that I wish I read when I was younger, and I get it because I've lived with 2 women for long periods of time, and we weren't married. And it's basically like you're married, okay? Which isn't bad, but once you move in together, the dynamic changes. And I would add, the longer you live together, you're not married, you're not having kids, you don't have similar goals, you fall into this comfort phase, and it really kills attraction. And I really agree with this. Never live with a woman you aren't married to or not planning to marry with. However, for certain people, it does help with finances, but it will. And he writes, you save money and other resources by moving in with your girlfriend, but then you notice a decrease in her sexual desire. Absolutely true. Competitive anxiety and sexual attention is removed. Absolutely true. She can now comfortably relax in the knowledge in which she can negotiate the terms of her desire for a living arrangement. You lose 2 of your most valuable resources. I love this line. Options and the ability to maneuver. If I have to pick one thing, one statement that I really love from Rollo Tomassi is the ability to maneuver, right? Maverick would like that one. Rule number 3, any woman who makes you wait for sex or by her actions implies she is making you wait for sex. The sex is never worth the wait. Now, this is one I'm not sure I fully agree with either. I've had guys on the live stream say before, oh, if she doesn't hook up with me in the first or second date, I'm done. When I say hook up, I mean full-on intimacy. What are you looking for? So if the woman's conservative, she hasn't had a lot of partners in her past, which a lot of guys find desirable in a long-term relationship. How many guys are, asking a woman like, hey, how many guys have you been with? Or, I've dated women before where we didn't hook up for a month. I don't know if we went out 3, 4, or 5 times, but I never got. By the way, at the same time, I wasn't zeroed in on that woman. I wasn't necessarily like, oh, this is going to be the one, right? But at the same time, I was okay, and I didn't look at it like, oh, I'm waiting. I enjoyed going out with her. I knew she was conservative. I knew that's the way she was. But I knew she had interest. If your girlfriend wants to bang you, she'll find a way not to make you wait for it. If you're single and haven't had sex after 5 or 6 dates, then just get the hell out and move on. Like I said, this is one of those rules. I don't know if it applies to every situation. If you're looking for a long-term relationship and you want a woman that has really high values and is extremely loyal, I think there's a lot of value. As long as you're able to read the situation and say, this is in her, for example, this is in her nature to wait because of her own values and the fact that she's interested in you and you're very interested in her. So, I mean, play with that however you want. That's one of those ones I don't agree with 100%. Rule number 2, never under pain or death honestly or dishonestly reveal the number of women you slept with or explain any detail of your sexual experience with them to a current lover. Okay. So I mean, under pain of death, honest. So if you get asked, this is an interesting one because he's saying never reveal the number of women you slept with. So if they ask you the question directly, he's saying don't answer it honestly or dishonestly. So you just, what do you plead the fifth? A lot of women don't ask that question, I find. I don't get asked that question a lot. I don't think they care as much. Men care a lot more than women. But that being said, that could be a red flag that this woman's going to be controlling. But he attached to that is always less necessary is cultivate an air of mystery. So you'd say, I've always said if you don't want to answer that question, then you could say a gentleman never tells. Rule number 1, frame is everything. Always be the subconscious balance of whose frame in which you are operating. Always control the frame, but resist giving the impression that you are. Ideally, you want her to be operating in your reality or your frame. This gives you power. If you are trying to convince her to like you or have intimacy with you, you are operating in her frame. When a woman shit tests you, they're trying to see if you're legit, if you're a strong, confident individual. When you enter a relationship, either you will enter it in her reality or she will enter in yours. Which will it be? I have a few quotes. Frame's an interesting thing to talk about maybe on a show by itself. I find it to be something that is very true, but it's something that needs, like I said, let me get into the live stream because I only have a few minutes today. Take women and give her a puppy. That's unconditional love. The difference with men is that people are traumatized. So love with another human being triggers imperfect responses. Wow, that's a great way to put it, Clutch. That's a great way to put it. I agree. Take a woman and give her a puppy or a kitten. Take a guy and give him a puppy or a kitten. And that's unconditional love. The difference with men is that people are traumatized, so love with another human triggers imperfect responses. What you just said there. That's poetic psychology. Love with another human triggers imperfect responses. I'm going to steal that from my book, Clutch, but I'll reference you. I'll put you in the bibliography. E.g., secure women can love unconditionally. I think everyone has their limits, but yeah, I think that there is such thing as unconditional love, and I think it is possible. That's just wrong for anyone to do. I have to know a person before. What's up, Mary Lee? Have you been on here before? I have to know a person before I'm comfortable sleeping with someone. Yeah. Like I said, that one, I've had a few other people tell me that before. Like, wow, it was that long? I was like, yeah. To me, yeah, I would say two of my, well, not three. Three of my girlfriends, yeah, there was some weight involved. Well, welcome, Mary Lee. Where are you out in the world, hon? Yeah, I'll end it with a few of the quotes from The Rational Male. Quotes. So, entrapped we are in our own self-expectation and self-imposed limitations that we fail to see what we have always had the keys to our own prisons. We're just scared shitless to use them. Quote number 2, women would rather share a high-value man than be saddled with a faithful loser. What do you think about that one, Mary? I think that's true, actually. I think that's actually true. I think it would probably be more true of women in their 20s, maybe in their early 30s, and not true when women get up into the late 30s, early 40s, etc. I think that would be off limits as they get older. They don't want to compete as much. Anxiety, trauma, and crisis are necessary catalysts to stimulate self-consciousness. That's a deep statement. That sounds like something you'd say, Clutch. Could you unpack that a little bit? The definition of power is not financial success, status, or influence over others, but the degree at which you have control over your own lives. I love that quote. The definition of power is not financial success, status, or influence over others, but the degree to which we have control over our own lives is so goddamn true. And in relationships, correct me if I'm not, you're always negotiating. Now, there are relationships where someone just runs the show. You know, they run the show. Everything goes through them. And the woman could be running the show just as much as the man, right? Stimulating a woman's imaginings is the single most potent talent you can develop in any context of a relationship. Translation, be mysterious. Women will cry a river about wanting Mr. Dependable, then go off to fuck Mr. Exciting. Is that true? Or is that just too harsh a statement? Nothing is as simultaneously fear-inspiring. Let me go back to that. Women will cry a river about wanting Mr. Dependable and then go off and fuck Mr. Exciting. I would add, the guy doesn't even need to be exciting. It could be someone that's intriguing. It's just someone that they work with that they're attracted to. Nothing is as simultaneously fear-inspiring and arousing for a woman as a man she suspects is self-aware of his own value. Is the woman who applies makeup every day being herself? Great quote. Great quote. I'm going to have to unpack that another time. Women are fundamentally incapable of loving a man in the way that a man expects to be loved by a woman. I just don't know if that's completely true. That's one that I would question. That would be a great topic discussion with Rollo if I get him on at some point in the show. Women want to be with men who other women want to fuck and other men want to be. I would agree with that. And this is why if you're at a job or a public scene, party, get together, meeting, and you're getting attention from other women, good looking or not good looking, in a positive way, and there's some other woman there, she'll notice that you get a lot of attention, and it'll create more value. In any relationship, the person with the most power is the one who needs the other the least. Translation, that's the person that runs the relationship. Experience teaches harsh, but it teaches best, and the breadth of experience serves man well. I agree. Only got a few minutes here, so let me get back. Let's see here. Love wholeheartedly with the fiber of your being. My consultancy rate is, you're doing $200 an hour now? I like dependable, but not. I like dependable, but not dependable. Not dependably boring. Some women are incapable of what? All right, folks, I got about 5 minutes. Does anyone have a quick question? Sometimes I think the message board's on delay. Anyhow, this is a really good book, and it's got some controversial things to it, but I think it's definitely something that if you're at ground zero in your breakup or you're getting back into dating, I definitely put this as required reading. And I think that women should take a look at it, and I love their perspective because women, it's kind of funny. I don't being a man that likes women, don't read the other side, but I've got the perspective in coaching women before. Some of the stuff that is being pushed on their message boards and some of the books, it's actually similar. Like I've heard from women before that they feel like they need to keep a guy guessing, that they need to be mysterious. But like I said before, no matter how good you are with women or men, or if you're a lesbian or gay, whatever, what have you, no matter how good you are and you think you're the Don Juan DeMarco, you will meet your match. You will meet someone that does what you do, but better. Do you know what I mean? Have you ever had a friend or Clutch, you say that you were a pickup artist in your past life, and they're really good, and then they meet their match, right? And they're like, wow, this person just flipped the table on me. If you watch Boomerang with Eddie Murphy or you watch Hitch with Will Smith, they're not the greatest movies in the world, but basically that's the message. These people met their match. We should do a video about the one that got away and how that mindset changes with success. Yeah, that would be interesting. That's such a cheesy way to, the one that got away, I think of fishing. But I know exactly what you mean. I recollect on some good relationships I had. I've seen the biggest alphas end up in a nut house when they meet their, right? I just think that some people think that oh wow, this person does so well, they always meet their match. Friends of mine that have been guys that have been really good with women, whether that's because they're good looking or they're just charming, it could be a variety of things. At some point they met their match. Someone spun the tables on them. Why do guys say they want a woman who has their own successful career but then leave them for a woman who has nothing? Short answer, I would need to know your story, and I would need to know specifically what happened, because not all men are like that. But if I had to guess, that woman that has nothing has something that has nothing to do with success or money or a job, and it's probably she's highly attractive or she's really good in bed. Now, that's a short answer. That I would need to know more details to the situation. It's kind of like women will say, like, I don't know what it is about my friend. She's never single and she gets all these guys. She's kind of cute, but I can't believe it's like, could it be that she's really good with intimacy or she's really good at flirting? She doesn't put up, there's women that are like that. Sex has a huge impact on the mental stability of a person. This is why we don't get involved with instability. Mary Lee, I'm not saying that's true always, but you know what I mean? It's kind of like, I've talked about this before. I remember there was a guy I worked with years ago when I lived in San Diego, 20-something years ago. And this guy, he got a lot of women. Like, he was a maestro, right? And he was a cool dude. I wasn't surprised. And he ended up with a girlfriend that I would say wasn't highly attractive. She was kind. She was, she was cool and everything. But she definitely wasn't up to what he had, dated before. And he was really into her. And by the way, I was happy for him. I never was like, oh, why? But you're like, why is he, and a few things. She was a lot more mentally stable than he was. Not mentally stable, I suppose nurturing. She was what he needed in that way. But he said she had a great body that you just didn't notice. And I would say certain parts of that body that were exceptionally great. And like I said, you know, from the naked eye, she wasn't that pretty. And so someone would be like, why do you end up with her? Well, also, the intimacy was extremely good. Why do I always use the word intimacy? Because it covers more things, if you know what I mean. Chuckster, Welcome to the Rock, great movie. Sean Connery, that's the only quote I can think of. I just wanted to contribute. If you read in a Scottish accent, it's better. I don't know if I can do the Scottish accent. Welcome to the Rock. Nah, I'm more Irish than Scottish. I'm a McCarthy. It's funny, I just had someone call. I just had a coaching session from someone from Ireland. And like I said, it was like an emergency one. And I was like, you know what? You're Irish. What if successful women also gave... Okay, good question, Mary Lee. What if a successful woman also gave the man lots of sex and pretty much everything he wanted? Obviously, there was something lacking, but I would say that the statement that show me a beautiful woman, I'll show you some guy that's sick of hooking up with her or banging her, might be the case there. The other part is, was it good intimacy on his end? But some people just get greedy, right? You know, if a guy can have his cake and eat it too, a lot will. Mary Lee, if this is talking about your own situation, feel free to write your story in and send it in. I'll unpack it with you in a live coaching session. It sounds like you're asking questions that might apply to yourself. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, folks, I gotta go. It was good to touch base. Making an effort to be on the airwaves every day. Chuckster, it's always a pleasure. Clutch, thanks for your take, buddy. You like Alfie. I actually went and watched Alfie after you mentioned it. Alfie, son, whenever you see a beautiful woman, just remember that somewhere out there's a dude that's sick of shagging her. Okay, I will. Yeah, here you go. WriteMac.com. Go ahead and send it in, Mary Lee. I'll help you out, hun. All right, folks, it's curtains.